Aha, hello everyone. Hello, hope you can all hear me. I'm just going to give it another minute or so, just whilst people arrive, just to give people a few minutes to get themselves sorted, and then we're going to make a start. Thank you everyone who's joining us this morning. Whether you're at school or at home, thanks very much for coming and joining in on this, the second session of our World Book Week workshops. I'm just going to give it maybe another 30 seconds and then we'll make a start. Make sure you've got lots of space around you if you're ready to join in. Make sure you've got room to move about in, get your body moving. I'm going to make a start in just a few seconds. Feel free to comment in the comments as well as we go along. Awesome. Okay, brilliant. We're going to make a start then, everyone. Don't worry if you arrive late, anyone, you can always join in as we go. So my name is Jamie and I'm going to be leading this workshop today, our second workshop of our World Book Week workshops. And today we're going to be looking at The Iron Man by Ted Hughes. And we're going to be reading through the story, bringing parts of the story to life using all sorts of drama techniques. We're going to be using props, we're going to be using mime, we're going to be using our facial expressions as well to bring some of the language of the story to life. Whether you're at school or at home, all you need is a little bit of space and you'll be able to do it in. Awesome. Thank you. St. Mary's Primary School, Year 3. Awesome. Okay. So, as I said, we're going to be using our bodies and our facial expressions. So to do that, we need to have a bit of a warm-up. You need to have a bit of a stretch. So, I say if you've got lots of space around, you don't need too much space. As long as you've got a bit of space to move about, we're going to start with a big stretch. So first, can you stretch your arms all the way up for me? Feel a big stretch up your back, up your arms, and go up on your toes. Feel that stretch all the way up your body, and back down again. And then up on your toes, and back down again. And then up on your toes. Hold it for a bit longer this time. You should feel a big stretch at the back of your legs. And back down, and then drop your wrists down, drop your elbows down, drop your arms down, drop your head down, and then roll all the way down. Touch your toes. I'm going to stand up for this bit so you can see me. So touch your toes, and then you can bend your knees, and straighten your knees, and then bend your knees, and straighten your knees, and one more time, bend your knees, straighten your knees, and roll back up. So hopefully we've got a big stretch all the way up our bodies now. We're going to warm up our arms, so you can move your wrists for me. Yeah. Hello, Year 4 Trinity. I'm really excited too. Awesome. Keep your wrists going, and the other way. And then into your elbows. Come down so you can see me a bit better. Into your elbows. And then elbows the other way. And then can you do your shoulders back? Big circles with your shoulders. Big circles. And then smaller circles. Still going backwards, small circles with your shoulders. Back into big circles. And then can you go forwards, shoulders forwards. Big circles. And then little circles with your shoulders. Let's get our arms all nice and flexible. And then big circles. And then shoulders up. And shoulders down. And shoulders up. And shoulders down. And then one more time, shoulders up. Keep them up this time. Keep them up for a bit longer. And down, and then shake your arms out. Hopefully our arms are feeling a lot looser now and a lot more flexible. We just need to finish off warming up our legs. So can you stand on one leg for me, and with your other leg draw a circle with your toes. So you're moving your ankle round in a circle, drawing a circle with your foot. And then can you go the other way? And then you move that circle up into your knee. So you're making a bigger circle now with your foot, moving around your knee. And then shake that leg out. And then do the same with the other leg. So you're drawing a circle with your toes, draw a circle with your foot. And then you're going a bigger circle into the knee to make a bigger circle. If you need to lean on something, if you can't balance on one leg, that's absolutely fine. And then finally, shake that leg out. There we go. So hopefully now our bodies are feeling a bit more warmed up. We've warmed up our arms, we've warmed up our legs, warmed up our backs and had a big old stretch. But as I said at the start, we're not just going to be using our bodies, we're going to be using our facial expressions as well. So we've got to warm up our faces as well. And the best way to do that is to take an imaginary piece of chewing gum or bubble gum, whichever one you prefer, and just pop it in your mouth and start having a bit of a chew. Start having a bit of a chew. You should feel your cheeks warming up and your jaw as well, having a bit of a chew. And in a minute, I'm going to count down from 5. And when I start counting down, I want you to start blowing a bubble with your bubble gum. And when I get to 0, you're going to suck it all back in again. Okay? So keep chewing for now. Keep chewing. And I'm going to count down 5. Start blowing the bubble. 4, 3, 2, 1, and then suck it back in again and keep chewing. So hopefully we're starting to feel a little bit looser in our jaw and a little bit more warmed up in the face, but we need to make things a little bit harder. So we're going to take a second piece of chewing gum and pop that in as well. There we go. So now you're chewing, now it's an even bigger piece of bubble gum. So you've got to chew a little bit harder this time. Really chew down, chew a little bit harder, and I'm going to count down from 5 again. Can you blow an even bigger bubble for me this time? When I start counting down, start blowing the bubble, and then when I get to 0, suck it all back in again. Okay, so it's bigger bubble this time. 5, 4, getting bigger. 3, 2, 1, and then suck it all back in again, and keep chewing, keep chewing. And we're going to do one more. We're going to add one more piece of bubblegum this time. This is the last piece. So take that, pop it in with the other 2. Now you've really got to chew really hard. Really keep chewing. Really chewing really hard. And I'm going to count down from 5 again. And you're going to blow another bubble. But this time, you've got 3 pieces of bubblegum in there this time. So it's going to be too big. And it's going to give a big pop at the end. Okay? So I'm going to count down from 5. When I get to 0, your bubblegum's going to pop all over your face. So 5, start blowing. 4, getting bigger. 3, even bigger. 2, 1, and then pop all over your face. Wipe it all off. There we go. Awesome. So hopefully now we've got our faces a bit warmed up. We've got warmed up our cheek muscles and our jaws, maybe your eyebrows as well. Maybe you're having to really chew really, really hard. So hopefully now we're all limbered up and ready to start using our bodies and using our facial expressions to bring some of this story to life. But there's one more thing I want us to do before we get to the story. Often when we're coming up with drama at home, maybe if we're on our own, we might need something to give our imaginations a little bit of a jump start. So it can often be useful to find some props that we can use. They might be props that we use for some costume maybe. There might be props that we use to tell the story. So we're going to do a little bit of a scavenger hunt before we start. So we can gather some props that might be useful later in the story. So I'm going to give you some categories, and I'd like you to find something in your house that falls into that category. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to try and find something. Okay, and then when you found it, pop it in the comments if you can, and we can all see what we've managed to find. And say these are all things that you'll be able to use later on when we start bringing some of the characters from the Iron Man to life. So for your first category, can you find something round for me? Something round. I'm going to give you 30 seconds and play a little bit of music for you. little bit of searching music, hopefully you can hear that. So you've got 30 seconds to find something round. Let me know in the comments if you managed to find anything. You've got just 10 seconds left. Find something round. Amelia found a plate. Cup of tea, yes please. A ball. These are all great. These are all great props as well. Okay, that's the end of your 30 seconds. So if you haven't found something yet, find something now. And an orange. Awesome. I got a plate as well. That was my one. So Amelia got a plate. I thought a plate would be a good prop as well. Football's really good. Fanta can, that's a really good one. Okay, keep those coming. I'm going to move on to the next one for you. So you've got 30 seconds again to find something soft for me this time. The softest thing you can find. I'm going to give you another 30 seconds to find the softest thing this time. And your time starts now. The softest thing. A globe. Oh, that's an awesome prop. Another ball. Tennis ball. Really good. Bouncy ball. A spoon. Oh, a spoon is a great idea. That's a really good one for a round one. Two big pins. Cuddly cat. I'm guessing that's the soft thing. Okay. You've got another 5 seconds to find the soft thing. And time's up. So if you haven't got your soft thing, grab it now. Let me know. Pillow, cushion. Yeah. I got a cushion as well. A big soft cushion. There's lots you could do with a big soft cushion. Could be costume, it could be a prop. Hang on to that. A blanket's a really good one because you could use that as a cape maybe. We've got teddies. Yeah, brilliant. Lots of cushions. A dressing gown. Awesome. Dogs and cats. I mean, if you want to try and use those as props, that would be amazing. Teddy. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one, but keep those coming. Next one, can you find something shiny for me this time? Something shiny. And those of you who know the story of the Iron Man might know why something shiny could be useful later on in the story. So you've got 30 seconds. Find something shiny for me. What can you get for something shiny? Soft toy kiwi bird. Oh, these are some great soft things. Lots of teddies, blanket. Something shiny. Phoebe's got a glass. We've got 10 seconds left to get something shiny. Sarah's got a spoon. Okay, time's up on that one. Something shiny. What have you got? Toy car, a couple of spoons. Mine was a spoon as well. Awesome. Fork. Yeah. Tin foil. DVD. Oh, that's a good one. That's very shiny. Foil is a great one as well because you could use foil in loads of different ways. Use that for loads of different costumes. Brilliant. Keep those coming. We've got 2 more to get through. So I'm going to move on to those. For your next one, can you get something yellow for me? Something yellow. Anything you like. Something as long as it's got some yellow on it. And I'm going to give you another 30 seconds. Your time starts now. 30 seconds for something yellow. Yellow crayon, yes, good one. Daffodil, awesome. Yellow Pikachu teddy, banana, brilliant. How long have you got? You've got about 10 seconds left. 10 seconds left for something yellow. Time's up. Grab something yellow if you haven't already. Let's see what we've got. Banana. Yahoo from the Night Garden. Cool, Charlie. Sponge, a cushion. I got a little can scrunch that up into a ball, you can use it as a flag or something, lots you can do with that. Lego piece, a lemon. Awesome. See, there's so many different things. This is what's really great to see. It's just all the different things you can come up with. Brilliant. Okay, we're going to do one more for you. Last one. The ones I've done so far are maybe a little bit too restrictive, so I'm going to give you a bit of a wider one this time. You can get anything you like that begins with the letter H. Something beginning with the letter H this time. So you can think a bit outside the box maybe. Something beginning with the letter H. 30 seconds. Time starts now. 30 seconds, something beginning with the letter H. Hippo, tabby, awesome. I really hope we can use some of these teddies as we tell the story. That'd be great. Hair, yes. Hands, cool. Hat. Hat, yeah. Oh, everyone's got a hat. I also had a hat. There we go. We're all thinking along the same way there. And obviously a hat will be awesome for using as some costume later. Hulk mask, amazing. Happy face, lovely. A house for a fairy, that's nice. Hand highlighter. These are all such brilliant things that we can definitely use later on as we tell the story. So do keep all of these props to hand, all of your hats and your yellow things and your shiny things, because we're going to get to use them a bit later. But now I'd like to move on to talk you through a little bit about the story that we're going to be doing today. As I said at the start, we're going to be doing The Iron Man by Ted Hughes. Now, don't worry if you don't know the story of the Iron Man, because I'm going to read out a little summary of the story now before we start going into the little scenes and the little places that we're going to be acting out. Okay, so just listen just for now whilst I give you a little summary of the Iron Man. So, the Iron Man begins when the Iron Man falls from a cliff and crashes into lots of pieces. These pieces manage to find each other, rebuilding the Iron Man, who then disappears into the sea. Now, as I carry on the story, keep a listen out, see if you can spot any characters in the story that we might be acting out today. So there's already one that I've mentioned, but see if you can spot any others that you think we might be able to act out today. So once the Iron Man has disappeared into the sea, many years later, one day the Iron Man re-emerges from the sea, and a young boy named Hogarth discovers the Iron Man. After feeding on tractors and ploughs to survive, the Iron Man is caught in a trap and buried deep underground. But the Iron Man digs himself free. Then one day, astronomers spot an alien in the sky, a gigantic space bat angel dragon. The dragon lands on Australia and demands to be given food. The Iron Man challenges the dragon to a contest of strength. If the Iron Man wins, the dragon must leave Earth alone forever. After 2 rounds, the Iron Man defeats the dragon and the dragon leaves. As the dragon flies away, it sings a song that brings peace to Earth. So there's a lot that happens in this story, and we're going to be picking out a few scenes to bring to life. I imagine you managed to spot a few characters in there that we could bring to life. The first one being the Iron Man. There was Hogarth, wasn't there, the little boy who finds the Iron Man. And then finally we meet the space bat angel dragon that the Iron Man challenges to a contest at the end. So the 2 characters we're going to look at in detail today are the Iron Man and the space bat angel dragon. 2 quite exciting magical characters that we're going to have a lot of fun trying to bring to life at home. And the part of the story, the first character I'd like to look at is the Iron Man himself. And we're going to start with a part of the story where the Iron Man falls from the cliff. So I'd like you now just to stand up in your space, see how much space you can move around. Even if it's just moving from side to side, that's absolutely fine. just make sure you can move around your space just a little bit. And I'm going to read out the passage where the Iron Man falls off the cliff. You are absolutely welcome to act this bit out at home if you'd like to. I'm going to read it out just for a bit of context, so we know what's happening in the story. And then I'm going to give you your first little activity for acting out this passage from the story. So you can listen just whilst I read this bit, or you can start moving around the space and acting out as well. So, the Iron Man's right foot, his enormous iron right foot, lifted up out into space, and the Iron Man stepped forward off the cliff into nothingness. Crash! Down the cliff, the Iron Man came toppling head over heels. Crash, crash, crash. From rock to rock, snag to snag, tumbling down. And as he crashed and crashed and crashed, his iron legs fell off, his iron arms broke off, and the hands broke off the arms. The great iron ears fell off, and his eyes fell out. His great iron head fell off. All the separate pieces tumbled, scattered, crashing, bumping, clanging, down to the rocky beach far below. A few rocks tumbled with him, then silence. So, we start the story with the Iron Man in lots of pieces on the beach. Now, to start acting this out, can you start just moving around your space for me, nice and slowly, just walking around the space or moving from side to side, moving around in any way that you can. Now, I'm going to call out a part of the body, and I'd like you to start moving around the space, leading the way with that part of the body. Imagine that it's a part of the Iron Man's body searching along the beach, trying to find the rest of him. Okay, so we move around the space to start. Can you start moving around, leading the way with your hands to start? Or to start moving around, imagine that your hands are pulling you along. Maybe there's a magnet in them that's stretching you, or someone's pulling you along by the hands. You could be with your hands outstretched like this. They could be grasping as you move around. Are you moving quickly? Are you moving slowly? Start moving around the space. Imagine that your hands and your arms are pulling you along. They're the Iron Man's hands pulling themselves along the beach. And I'm going to start giving you a few more parts of the body to move around. As I do, if you feel up to it, have a little think as to what character you could do that might move in the way that you're moving. See if you can come up with a character that might move in that way. You can let me know in the comments if you think of one, or you can just be a little something to think about. Think about some sort of characters that might move around in that way. So you're still starting with your hands pulling you along, the Iron Man hands. I'm going to give you the next one now. Can you start moving around, leading the way with your stomach, leading the way with your tummy, okay? So you're walking around the space, leading the way with your tummy, okay? How are you moving now? Are you moving quickly? Are you moving slowly? How are you moving the rest of your body? A crab. Oh, Chris, was that for the moving with your hands? That's a great one. So moving around, leading the way with your stomach this time, okay? So maybe you're leaning back a long way, your stomach pushed out, leading the way with your stomach this time. Have a think of some characters that you could do. As I'm going to move on to the next part of the body, can you start moving around, leading the way with your chin this time? Leading the way with your chin. So how do you stand this time? Are you standing very upright maybe, leading the way with your chin? Are you moving a bit quicker maybe this time? Have a go at moving around the space, leading the way with your chin. Monkey from Sheena, that's a great one. So leading the way with your chin this time. Again, imagine that you're on the beach, you're part of the Iron Man's body on the beach. Feels like a seal, awesome. Okay. We're going to move on from the chin now. I'm going to give you the next part of the body. These ones might be a little bit harder. Can you lead the way using your knees this time? So we're moving on to the lower half of the body. How might you move around if you're leading the way with your knees? Are you maybe dragging yourself along? Nicholas has a snail. That's a great one. Are you dragging yourself along now if you're leading with your knees maybe? Are you crouching down a little bit? Have a think. These are some really great animals. Are coming up with the movements here in the comments, guys. This is awesome. So, okay, have a think. We're now moving along with our knees. Just have a look about how How do you hold your body if you're having to lead the way with your knees? Have a think about that. Just be aware of what your whole body's doing. And we're just going to do a couple more so that we're nice and warmed up, and we're just finding out all the different ways that we can move around our space as well at the same time. So for the last one, can you move around leading the way with your ear this time? Leading the way with your ear. Okay? So how are you going to move around leading with your ear? And what sort of character might be that? Maybe someone who's always listening, maybe. Maybe that might make you think about your facial expression as well. What sort of face are you pulling as you're moving around with your ear? So I'm going to give you just a few more seconds to have a little think about that. I'm sorry if I don't get a chance to read your comments because there might be a little bit of a delay, but I'm really loving looking at all of the characters that you're coming up with. And okay, I'm going to count down from 5. When I get to 0, sorry, can you freeze for me? You can freeze as any one of the characters that you've just come up with from moving around the space. Your favourite one that you've managed to do. I'd like you to freeze as that character. So I'm going to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and freeze. Freeze is one of the awesome animals that you've managed to come up with through that. And hold it for a little bit, and then shake it all out. You can shake out that freeze and just come back to being yourselves, standing in the space. So hopefully now we've got some idea as to how we can use our bodies and use our movement to come up with some characters. Now that's going to help us now as we look at some of the characters in the story, okay? Now the first character we're going to look at, we're going to carry on looking at the Iron Man, okay? And I'm going to read out some descriptions of the Iron Man that Ted Hughes, the writer, uses in the story. And I want you to think about some of those descriptions and think about how you could bring some of those descriptions to life using the movement of your body and how you're holding yourself, okay? So start, say, just by moving around the space at the start. Just start by moving around the space just as yourself, as much as you can. And I'm going to give you the first description that Ted Hughes gives of the Iron Man. So he describes the Iron Man's huge metal body stretching up to the sky. Huge metal body stretching up to the sky. So there's some good descriptions in there, isn't there? There's huge, so we've got an idea of just how big the Iron Man is. How could you make yourself look that big? Metal body as well, so we know what material the Iron Man is made of. How might you move? If you were made of metal, how might you have to move around if you were made of metal? Have a think about that. Are you moving very quickly? Are you moving very slowly? Maybe you can add some sound effects in as well. Maybe there's a noise that you make when you move, the metal clanking around, and stretched up to the sky as well. So he's very tall, the Iron Man, very tall. Have a think about how you can show that. Becky says stiff. That is a really good description as to how you might move as the Iron Man. You could move in a very stiff way. And have a think about how you're going to show that height that the Iron Man has. How are you going to show that the Iron Man is that big? If you're struggling with that, this next description might help you think of a way that you can really show the size of the Iron Man. Okay? Ted Hughes says that the Iron Man is towering over the human. The Iron Man looked down. Okay? So you've got towering there, another good description of just how big the Iron Man is, but he's looking down as well. He's looking down at all the small people. So maybe that's something that you can use in your mime of the Iron Man, in the way you're holding your body, bringing the Iron Man to life. Looking down at all the people down there on the ground that are a lot smaller than you. Start putting those descriptions together, putting those movements together as you walk around the space. And I'm going to give you a couple more. These are some great descriptions in the chat, everyone. Clunky, slowly, really, really good. I'm going to give you just a few more little descriptions that you can add to your performance as the Iron Man, okay? So the Iron Man has glowing eyes that peered into the darkness. So now we're getting a description of the Iron Man's face, okay, and his facial expression. How might you show glowing eyes? There's lots of options you could do here. You could have your eyes very wide. You could be very focused. Your facial expression could be very hard. There's lots of options you can do for this one, so have a think about how his glowing eyes peering into the darkness. And there's just one more description I'm going to give you, just give you another sense of just how big the Iron Man is. Taller than a house, he says. Ted Hughes describes him as taller than a house. That might give you another idea as to just how tall the Iron Man is. His eyes are like headlamps as well, is another good description. His eyes are like headlamps. Staring eyes, that's a really good description. Eyes wide. All really, really good stuff. So hopefully you've put those movements together. I want you to keep moving around as the Iron Man, thinking about all of those descriptions and putting them together. And I want us to act out the part where the Iron Man emerges from the sea. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count down from 10. And I'd like you, when I start at 10, you're going to pretend that you're the Iron Man who's buried deep, deep underwater, okay, under the sea. Think about how that might affect how you move as well, being deep, deep underwater. And as I count down from 10, you're going to slowly emerge from the sea as the Iron Man. By the time I get to 0, you're going to be standing on the beach, okay? So you might want to start crouched down and work your way up. You might want to think about how it affects your movement as you're going out of the sea. I'm going to start counting down now and have a think of putting all these awesome descriptions together that you're giving me into the Iron Man emerging from the sea. So I'm going to start at 10, 9, 8, so very clunky now, maybe, really pushing against the water. 7, 6, 5, where is he now? Where's the water now? Is it maybe coming down his chest maybe as he's emerging? 4, 3, 2, 1. Up on the beach, and can you strike your best Iron Man pose for me once you get up on the beach? Freeze in your best Iron Man pose. Hand on hips maybe, or is he looking down at all the people? Think about the facial expression as well. Those wide eyes, someone says. Staring eyes as well. And hold that freeze for a little bit. And then can you shake it all out? Shake it all out. And then stand back in your space just as yourself again. So hopefully we've had a good idea then as to how the Iron Man moves and how he looks as well. And I'd like us now to move on to the second character in the story. Move on to the Space Bat Angel Dragon. Okay? So this is what we're going to start to bring to life now. It's going to be quite a bit different to the Iron Man, the Space Bat Angel Dragon. But we're going to have a go at looking at some of the descriptions that Ted Hughes gives and thinking how we might bring the Space Bat Angel Dragon to life. So let's just look at the name of the Space Bat Angel Dragon. Space Bat Angel Dragon. There's a lot of description going on there already. What links 3 of those things? A bat, an angel, and a dragon. Maybe you can let me know in the comments. What's something that all those 3 things have in common? A bat, an angel, and a dragon. I'll give you a few seconds to see if anyone knows. Something that they all have. A bat, an angel, and a dragon. Have a think. I'm sure you've come up with it. There's probably just a bit of a delay on the comments. So all 3 of those have wings, is what I was thinking. So wings. Becky's got it. They've all got wings. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. So that's the first physical description that we're going to have to think about how we're going to bring that to life. How are you going to show that you've got wings? Yeah, this could be where you use some of your props that you used earlier. Maybe you've got something that could be used as wings, possibly. Have a bit of a look at your props and see if you've got any. Or you could have you're going to have your arms out nice and wide to show your wings. You can have small wings, like this, maybe. Start to have a think about that as you move around the space. Start to have a think how you're going to show that you've got these wings that the Space Bat Angel Dragon has. And I'm going to give you now a few descriptions that might just help you decide how you're going to show these wings. So these are some descriptions that Ted Hughes gives of the wings that the Space Bat Angel Dragon has. He says they are gigantic, leathery wings, and they are colossal as well. So there's more words just describing how big these creatures are. Even bigger than the Iron Man, this creature, even bigger than the Iron Man. So that might help you decide how you're going to show these wings. They are gigantic and colossal, okay? So have a think about that, the size of that as you're moving around the space using these wings. I'm going to give you a few more descriptions now. The Spacebat Angel Dragon had eyes as big as Switzerland, and its head alone was the size of Italy. So this is much, much bigger than the Iron Man was. Okay, much, much bigger. Sheena says wide description for the wings. That's a really good description for the wings, Sheena. That's awesome. So those descriptions give you a little bit more of an idea as to the size of the Spacebat Angel Dragon. How's that going to affect how you move around your space? Are you going to be moving slowly? Going to be moving quickly? What do you think is the best way to show the size of the dragon in your movement around your space? Okay, have a think about that as I give a few more descriptions. So these descriptions now are going to move on to how the Spacebat Angel Dragon looks. Okay, and there might be a chance here for you to use some of your props possibly in these. So the Spacebat Angel Dragon has feathers, fur, scales, spikes, and horns. So there's lots and lots of different sort of materials and patterns on the dragon's skin. Lots of things to think about there. So feathers and fur, quite soft things. Maybe there's one of your props that you can use that's quite soft that might help you with that. Then we got hard things like scales and spikes and horns as well. How could you show horns? You could use cushions for wings, definitely. People are saying they're going to move fast as the dragon as well. I think that's a good way of maybe showing how big it is if you're moving in quite quick movements. You'd imagine the dragon would be quite quick if he's got such big wings, definitely. But let's have a think about these materials that the dragon has on his skin. Scales and spikes and horns as well. How are you going to show horns? Have a think about how you might show horns. You might use little horns like this, maybe. You could do that. Or there might be one of your props you can use. I'm going to give a couple more descriptions now. We're going to get through these last ones a little bit quicker. So listen to these as I read them out and start adding them to your performance as the dragon. So looking at the bottom half of the dragon's body now, the dragon has thick, muscular legs. Thick, muscular legs. So maybe a good way to practice this would be imagine that the dragon has landed. He's not using his wings anymore and he's walking around the space. So imagine you're the dragon walking now with thick, muscular legs. Okay, have a think about that. Lucia said use spoons as horns. That's a really great idea. Use my spoon as a horn. That's a very good idea. But let's think about these thick, muscular legs now, walking around the space using thick, muscular legs. How is that going to help? Stomping, Becky, that's a great word. Definitely going to be stomping. Now I'm going to give you one more description of the dragon's skin. The dragon had armour on his skin made of jewels. Okay, so that might give you another idea as to how the dragon's going to move if he's got very hard skin. His skin is like armour, so it's very hard. And finally, it's a description of the dragon's face. We've not thought about the dragon's facial expression yet, but Ted Hughes gives us a description here. He says the dragon has indescribably terrible eyes. Indescribably terrible eyes. How are you going to show that on your facial expression? Eyes that are so terrible. I imagine it's going to be maybe a very angry look on your face. How are you going to show that facial expression to show terrible eyes? Okay, and how is that different from the Iron Man as well? The Iron Man had glowing eyes, the dragon has terrible eyes. Let's have a think about that. So hopefully now you can put all of those descriptions together and you can be moving around your space, thinking about all of those descriptions, putting them into your performance as the dragon. And I'd like us to describe, I'm going to read out now, we're going to try and act out the part where the dragon swoops down from space and he lands on Australia. So I'm going to start at 10. When I'm at 10, you're the Spacebat Angel Dragon flying around up in space. So we've got some really good descriptions of the eyes there, guys. I'm really enjoying those. Really, really good. So when I start at 10, imagine that you're the dragon up in space. And as I count down, you're going to slowly swoop down to Earth before landing your big, heavy dragon body onto Australia, okay? So I'm going to start at 10, 9, think about those big wings maybe, as you're up in space. How are you moving very quickly, we were saying. Think about that. 8, 7, 6, 5, maybe you're starting to come into lands now, maybe. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Land down on Australia. Big, heavy landing down. And then you can have a little pose as the dragon as well. Maybe strike a dragon pose once he's landed. And hold that freeze just for a few more seconds. Thinking about all of those descriptions. Think about the dragon's face, his body, his wings, and hold that freeze. And then finally, shake it all out. Shake it all out. And then you can just return to being yourself standing in the space. So there we go. We've managed to just, with a few short descriptions, bring two very different and very magical characters to life. We've had to use our bodies in all sorts of ways to show wings, to show height. And by looking at your comments, you've all done a really, really great job of that, which is absolutely brilliant. But I'd like to finish by just acting out the final part of the story, which is the challenge between the Iron Man and the dragon. And we're going to do this by still performing as the dragon. And I'm going to read out just what happens at the end of the story so that we can act this bit out as the dragon, just to show what happens in the final battle of the story. So, at the end of the story, the Iron Man and the Space Bat Angel Dragon have a challenge to see who can withstand the most heat. The dragon repeatedly flies into the sun and comes back more and more burnt each time. So can you listen to these descriptions of the dragon flying up into the sun and back again, and think how that might change your performance as the dragon, how you might show the changes that happen to the dragon in your performance, okay? So it'll make more sense as I read out some of these descriptions. As I'm reading out the description, imagine that you are the dragon flying up into the sun and coming back again, very different to how he left, okay? And you're going to see that in these descriptions and start adding these descriptions into your performance as the dragon, okay? I'm going to read out the first one now and it will make a little bit more sense as I do. But as I read it out, you can be flying around the space and just imagine that you're flying up towards the sun. So, the first time the dragon flies back, his horns drooped, his face was wizened and black, his claws were scorched blunt, his crest flopped over limply, and there were great ragged holes burned into his wings. So he's come back very changed now. How are you going to show these changes in your description? His horns drooped, so when the dragon left, he was perhaps very majestic and very upright. He had armour, didn't he? So he was very stiff. But as he's come back, now his body is very different. He's drooping now, so maybe he's a bit weaker. He's not as strong. His face is wizened and black. Now, wizened is a good word. Wizened means having wrinkles or deep lines in your skin. So that's to show how burnt he's become. Have a think about these descriptions. Think about the dragon moving around now, but maybe not quite as full as energy or as energetic as he was before. And I'm going to give you one more description of the dragon flying up into the sun, and he comes back one more time. See how you can add these descriptions into your performance as well. So the second time he comes back, his wings were only rags, and his skin was crisped. All the fatness had been changed by the fires of the sun into precious stones, jewels, emeralds, rubies, turquoises, and substances that had never been found on earth. So that gives us some idea as to just how burnt the dragon has become. He's very stiff now. Phil says he's not strong anymore. That's exactly right. See how you can show that in your performance. The dragon's been really weakened by the heat of the sun. And his wings, these big giant leathery wings that we were working on just a few minutes ago, they're now just rags and they're tatters. How can you show that? How can you show these big wings as rags of what they once were? That's how Ted Hughes describes them. A bit weak, yeah, very good. And hopefully you've put some of those descriptions together so we've got some sort of weak dragons moving around the space. But at the end of the competition, the dragon is able to cool off. He jumps in the sea to cool off, so he's all right in the end. So I'm going to count down from 10. As I do, can you, as the dragon, jump into the sea and cool off and be returned to your former majesty for me? So I'm going to count down from 10. Keep thinking about those descriptions of the dragon. Floppy wings, that's a really good one, Sheena. So he's going to be a lot floppier now. He said his horns were drooping was one of the descriptions, wasn't it? So I'm going to count down now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hop into the sea and cool off. Ah, there we go. And then you can shake it all out and just return to yourself. So there we go, everyone. That is the end of the story. Tell you what, just to finish off, I'll read out the final paragraph of the story so we can all just know how it ends. So you don't need to do anything now. You can just listen to this final bit of the story. This is what happens right at the end. The space bat angel dragon singing had the most unexpected effect. So this is as the dragon is leaving the earth and he starts singing a lovely song. This is what happens. Suddenly the world became wonderfully peaceful. The singing got inside everybody and made them as peaceful as starry space and blissfully above all their earlier little squabbles. The strange, soft, eerie space music began to alter all of the people of the world. They stopped making weapons. The countries began to think how they could live pleasantly alongside each other rather than how to get rid of each other. All they wanted to do was have peace to enjoy the strange, wild, blissful music from the giant singer in space. So that is the end of the story. All give yourselves a big round of applause at home for managing to get through the whole of the Iron Man by Ted Hughes. We brought to life the Iron Man, the dragon. We acted out the final challenge between the two of them. And you were all able to do that just by using a few descriptions from the story. So well done. Give all yourselves a massive round of applause. And thank you all so much for joining in with this workshop for World Book Week. There's going to be loads more during the week as well, so be sure to check those out. There's also going to be an activity pack as well where you can come up with some of your own descriptions of some of the characters in the story, and you can draw them out as well, and so you can find out what they look like. So I'm going to end it for us all now, but I want to say a big thank you to us all for joining in, and thank you for all your lovely comments as well. It was really great to see all the great ideas you were coming up with. Brilliant. Goodbye, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your day, and thank you very much for joining in. Bye.